Well, welcome back to our Links family and friends. Dennis Darville here, you with my colleague, Joey Denton. Joey and I met way back in our seminary days a million years ago, and now Joey oversees North and South Carolina. As many of you will know, he also writes more than a few of our devotionals. Joey, it's good to see you, brother.
Good morning, Dennis. Great to see you, buddy.
As you well know, and that's why I have you on here, we've started a series. This will be our first episode in a multi-part series on adversity. None of us go through life unscathed. And so been through some dark nights of the soul, and I know you have. And so I ask you to give some thought to this. And so to our Links family and friends, here's our heart. We know that many of you are hurting, anxious, battling fears. Something disruptive has happened in your life. And so for the next few months, we want to do our dead level best under the grace of God and the power of the Holy Spirit to encourage and strengthen you. And so to that end, Joey's going to talk a little bit about some seasons in his life and how he managed, how he navigated those seasons. So Joey, that's your cue, brother. Talk to us.
Well, Dennis, I love that we are going to be spending time talking about adversity and having these conversations with our Links family. One of the things that's very apparent in the scriptures is that when adversity does come, it creates a crisis of faith. It comes in a time where we begin to question in our fallen state, in our inabilities to understand fully the things of God. We get to a place where just not sure, God, if you're hearing this, if you're not seeing all that is going on in my life. And so this is going to be a really good series, and I trust God is going to use it mightily in the lives of many of you who are watching. And I would even encourage some of you to share these Friday videos with those in your world who are facing adversity. And may God in his grace use this for good. So for me personally, Dennis, in the last 12 years, I've gone through 4 seasons of adversity. 2 by the hands of sinful people and what they did in my life. 1 a season of adversity due to a health scare, and then most recently a head injury caused by a car accident that ultimately took me from my position as lead pastor of a church. So I think I've got some what would be the right word? I've got some experience when it comes to adversity, and I can tell you that in all 4 of those cases, it was a season of crisis, of questioning many things. So for me, there was really 2 things that God really worked in my life to help me understand. Number 1 is that adversity thrives in isolation. In these moments, I've had folks rally around me and my family, and such comfort to know people are praying and people are walking with you and people are helping you carry on, move toward trusting the Lord. That helps in so many ways. But I also have gone through seasons of adversity where this felt real isolated. The loneliness of the night, where the worry and the angst and just everything that comes with adversity just kind of weighs so heavily on your spirit, on me physically. I was reminded in all adversity, many situations, the Psalm 77, the Psalm of Asaph. He kind of, from Psalm 73 to 87, I think, or so, these Psalms of lament And in those Psalms, he helps us see. I mean, Asaph was a man. He was a worship leader, but he was also in the midst of some crises. And in those Psalms, it kind of helps us understand and see that this isolation can be make things so much worse than what is causing the adversity. I want to share just a couple of verses when you're talking about isolation and not having others walking with you through the difficulties. Listen to what Asaph would say in Psalm 77. I cry aloud to God, and he will hear me. In the day of my trouble, I seek the Lord. In the night, my hand is stretched out without wearying. My soul refuses to be comforted. When I remember God, I moan. When I meditate, my spirit faints. One of the things that was very telling in my own life is I had to get to a place where I was crying out to God, not necessarily to others. Now, these others were rallying around me amidst the adversity, but I had to get to a place where I'm crying out to God, the one who can handle this, the one who knows everything that I was going through. And the psalmist here is helping us understand in that very first verse, as I cry aloud to God, he will hear me. So Asaph is in this moment of crisis that we really see played out in Psalm 79. But what he is helping us see is, as I cry out to God in the midst of adversity, I do so with confident assurance that the Lord does hear me. That even in the midst of this crisis of faith, he hears me. He's going to be there. Isolation is real in adversity. And when we are walking through adversity, we need to have people come into our lives, allow people to walk with us, to minister to us. Too often in adversity, we try to keep it to ourselves. We try to walk through it alone. I can take care of it. I can fix it. And the truth is, this season of adversity is getting to a place where we really need to be dependent on others, and specifically dependent on our Father.
Yeah. Joy, that's so good. I'm watching my son train my grandson in any number of ways, and recently we bought him a tricycle. He's a little over 2 years old, and his legs aren't quite long enough to get things rolling, and so he'll get stuck. And one of the things my son does, Jonathan says to little Jono, is, do you need help? Do you need help? And then my son insists that my grandson say, I need help, Daddy. And I've been really thinking about that a lot lately, and it really ties into what you've just said. So many times we need help, and we're either ashamed or afraid or too prideful to either run to the Father and say, Lord, I need your help, or simultaneously run to friends like you. I know I've needed your help and counsel in times in my life. So,
and
yeah, I know we've been through some stuff together. So, to all our Links family and friends out there, Joey and I just want you to know, even if we don't know you, we love you, we care for you, but infinitely more so, the Father loves you and cares for you. And as Joey has reminded us today, if we cry out to him, he will hear us. Joey, thanks for being with us today, and thanks for helping me kickstart this series on adversity.
Thank you, Dennis. Good to be with you as always.
All right. God bless, and God bless to our Links family and friends. We'll see you next Friday in another episode when we address the topic of adversity.